Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again with the Battle of Greece. Basically, well, a Battle of Greece, Italy versus Greece, pretty much, right? See here, Greece pretty much pushed Italy, basically out of their country, and things are kind of like at a stalemate right now. And yeah, well, first of all, like if you're new to my channel and this is the first video you're watching, I would definitely suggest to start from the beginning of this playlist because this is like the third video, and apparently there's four videos in this series, so this is a third out of four. So I would definitely go back and do that order. But if you don't want to, it's cool to have you with us, anyways. But anyways, yes, Greece got pushed the Italians out of their country pretty much, and now, apparently, the big boys are coming in. Looks like Germany, Nazi Germany, looks like they're going to come in and give their allies, Italy, a hand. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out. I mean, they're at kind of like a stalemate right now, so the extra manpower and the extra technology, I think, is going to be huge. Like, if they have apparently probably going to have aircraft, because a lot of aircraft popped up when I was searching for, like, pictures, so, for graphics to put over here. But anyways, so I'm assuming we're gonna get some airplanes going on here and just better equipment all around. So I'm assuming, like, Italy's gonna kind of take commanding. Well, it's not Italy really, it'd be like Germany, because kind of gonna stomp down Greece here. Or Greece is still gonna put up a fight. They still got the numbers and they got the home field advantage. So I don't know what's gonna happen here. We're gonna jump right into it. Before we do, of course, hit that like and subscribe. But if you haven't yet, I really appreciate it. And yeah, we're gonna jump into it. Great series. But 3, 2, 1. Hold on a second. 3, 2, 1. Hold on a second. That makes perfect sense. Okay, yeah, we are at that. I don't know if I hit record or not, to be honest. 3, 2, 1. Bam. Kings and Generals. Well, I hope you guys like Kings and Generals, because we've been doing it for a long time. If you haven't yet, you definitely need to check their channel out. I had a lot of people give me some good recommendations, from their channel. I've done a lot of their stuff. Anyways, yeah, check them out and subscribe to them because they help me out a lot with their content.
The previous episode of this series, the Greeks managed to repel an Italian invasion and counterattack deep inside Italian-controlled Albania. Benito Mussolini, the Italian leader and dictator, had been humiliated, and now it was up to Hitler to save the prestige of the Axis and to eliminate the last remaining Allied nation in continental Europe. Welcome to the third video in our series on the Battle of Greece. If you're interested in the history of this era, don't forget to check out our second channel, The Cold War. The link is in the top right corner. Shout out to Blinkist for sponsoring this video. We live in a fast-paced world and it's often difficult to find the time to learn new stuff. Our work and social talks about the American women who worked as code. It was clear that Nazi Germany had become the dominant power in Europe. The only remaining nation yet to fall to Adolf Hitler's regime, Great Britain, was being heavily bombarded by the Luftwaffe, their colonial possessions in North Africa attacked by both the Germans and the Italians. Hitler thought that victory was assured, and for some time now he had been considering launching an invasion of the Soviet Union. For that, he would need the full support of his allies, Fascist Italy and Imperial Japan. The Balkan War had to end, so the Germans started working on their plan for an invasion of Greece, codenamed Operation Marita. In Greece, however, popular mood was changing.
Obviously, the deciding whether they want to take on Russia, obviously we find out not the best move. But I'm just thinking in general when it comes to countries, I think everyone just keeps getting greedy. I mean, no, you're not going to take over the entire world. Like, I don't think Germany has that population enough to kind of take over and control the entire world. So, kind of like, I don't know, just take what you can get and keep it kind of thing. I don't know. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this video, but anyways, here we go.
In Greece, however, popular mood was changing, With their leader Metaxas gone, their morale dropped. The collapse of the economy, lack of food and good news from the front, and the increase in dead and wounded didn't help. Germany was the big darkening cloud on the northern horizon. The Greek commander-in-chief, Alexandros Papagos, addressed this situation and planned a joint offensive with the Yugoslavs and the British to crush the Italians before Germany could attack. The Germans feared that the British aircraft based in Greece would bomb the Romanian oil fields, their only source of oil on the Eastern Front. They needed to secure their southern flank if they wanted to be prepared to face the Soviet Union. In March 1941, Hitler pressured Bulgaria and Yugoslavia to sign the Tripartite Pact and join the Axis. Furthermore, the 12th Army was stationed on the Bulgarian frontier for the invasion, with the 5th and 16th Panzer Divisions on the border with Turkey to deter them from intervening. But on March 27th, Hitler's plans were thwarted by a coup d'etat in Yugoslavia. The new Yugoslavian regime, assisted by the British, committed to the defense of Greece and assured they would protect the Struma Valley. To defend eastern Macedonia, the Greeks had constructed a chain of fortifications along the Bulgarian border in defense of the key center of Salonika. The 96-mile Metaxas line, named after their deceased leader, consisted of 21 fortification complexes, the largest one being Fort Rupel. This line, however, was poorly manned, as 12 divisions were needed and only 4 were assigned. General Konstantinos Bakopoulos commanded the Eastern Macedonia Army section there, with the 7th and 14th Divisions to the east of the Strymon River, and to the west, the 18th and the newly assembled 19th Mechanized Division under General Nikolaos Lumbas, a veteran of the previous campaign. The rest of Papagos's forces were still on the Albanian front, preparing for a final offensive to push Italy out of the Balkans. On March 2nd, the British sent the W Expeditionary Force under General Sir Henry Wilson. This force was composed of the 1st Armoured Brigade, led by Brigadier Harold Charrington, the 2nd New Zealand Division under General Bernard Freyberg, and the 6th Australian Division, commanded by General Sir Ivan Mackay. By March 21st, Charrington and Freyberg had got their men up to the Alikmon River. This second line extended east of the town of Florina, passing through Edessa all the way to the north of Mount Olympus and the coast of Katerini. Although Papagos didn't want to forsake Salonika, the Greeks supported them with the Central Macedonia Army section, composed of the 12th and 20th Divisions. Not willing to lose an Axis member, Hitler adjusted the plans of Operation Marita to also include the invasion of Yugoslavia. Many forces of the German 12th Army were redirected against the Yugoslavian-Bulgarian border, while the rest of the army would storm the Metaxas line.
Wow.
The plan was to overrun southern Yugoslavia, to outflank the Metaxas line and encircle the Greeks. There was a week's...
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, once they brought up how, the men didn't have enough men, on, like, the east side there, I was like, oh, man, are the Nazis going to attack over there? Because, man, they got Greece has their hands full already here on the east over here, with Italy. I mean, does Germany really need to come, help Italy on that side? I mean, I think once Germany starts basically fighting, on the east side, like, it's just going to crumble on the west side, because they're gonna need to pull that manpower, to protect. So I wonder if the defenses start falling apart here, or maybe Greece has an ace up their sleeve. They do have they do have their allies like the British. So I wonder how much the British are going to be helping here, because also the British have their hands full at the moment. So let's see how this plays out.
To outflank the Metaxas line and encircle the Greeks. There was a weak spot on the left of the Metaxas line, Mount Belis, where the borders of Greece, Yugoslavia and Bulgaria met. If breached, the Germans could be in Salonika in hours, cutting off the forces in the east. Furthermore, if the Monastir Pass fell to the Germans, the Greek army in Albania would be trapped and would have to surrender. For this reason, the possession of Monastir and the Axios Valley was essential. The 12th Army of Field Marshal Wilhelm List was divided into 3 army corps, comprising 5 armoured panzer divisions, including 3 SS regiments of the Adolf Hitler Panzer Division under Josef Dietrich, 2 motorized divisions, 3 light mountain divisions, and some infantry divisions, with over 1,000 Luftwaffe aircraft and 1,900 heavy tanks against Wilson's 176 tanks and 45 aircraft. By April 5th, these forces had been successfully assembled. At 5:15 a.m. on April 6th, the Germans declared...
Man, this should be easy. Like, I don't even know they're going to show a battle here or anything. I think you're just going to show Germany just push in, because that's hugely outnumbered. And we're not talking about like Italy here. We're talking about Germany. Like, they got the new stuff, the new tanks. They got like the new planes, the new guns. They're not playing with like World War I stuff. They got, they got some technology on their side. So, man, like, how is Greece going to fight this off?
War on Greece. At 15 a.m. on April 6th, the Germans declared war on Greece. At the same time, the invasion of Yugoslavia started with the bombing of Belgrade. List's motorized artillery began their bombardment of Fort Rupel and the adjacent forts. The 18th Mountain Corps, under General Franz Böhmer, was tasked with assaulting the bulk of the Metaxas line at Rupel, while the 30th Corps of General Otto Hartmann had to advance towards the Turkish border and outflank the easternmost forts. Meanwhile, General Georg Stürmer's 40th Panzer Corps was commanded to storm southern Yugoslavia and take the key positions of Monastir and Strumica. Böhmer's 125th Regiment was the first to assault the Metaxas line, while the artillery was still pounding the Greek forts. Bits of the concrete superstructures began to give way under the relentless hammering, but Rupel's defences proved to be surprisingly resilient after the bombardment, and Bokopoulos' forces managed to repel the initial German assault. In the east, Hartmann managed to outflank the Metaxas line and would capture the towns of Xanthi and Komotini a few days later. Rupel, however, was the adamantine obstacle to a general German advance, and Bokopoulos ordered that it be held until the last man. In the west, Stürmer sent the 73rd Division to capture Prilep, thus isolating Yugoslavia from its allies, and the 2nd Panzer Division to capture Strumica and outflank the Metaxas line. The panzers encountered little resistance and managed to occupy Strumica on the same day. In response, Lumbas shielded the town of Kilkis to avoid encirclement. On April 7th, the assaults on Fort Rupel resumed. The Germans were repelled again, but they managed to infiltrate positions around the fort and pinned down where the Greek guns were. To the west, the 2nd Panzer Division enjoyed much more success, as they repelled a Yugoslav counterattack and forced their way across the mountains, overrunning the thinly manned defensive line of Lumbas's forces south of Lake Doiran. Lumbas was forced to retreat, and Kilkis was occupied by the panzers, who continued south towards Salonika. In result, the Metaxas line had been completely cut off from the rest of the Greek defences. Bokopoulos continued to resist, but his forces were exhausted. One day later, Salonika fell and Bokopoulos was forced to ask for a truce, which List accepted. The Wehrmacht would allow all captured Greek officers to keep their sidearms, and pledged that none of them would be sent to a concentration camp. The battle for Fort Rupel had cost the Germans more than 300 killed against 56 Greeks. But the majority of the Greek defences were gone, and now the only one that could stop the German advance was Wilson. On the Albanian front, the Greeks launched the joint offensive with the Yugoslavians against the Italian forces, aiming to advance into Durazzo and Valona. Initially it went well, but after the fall of Skopje on April 7th, the Yugoslavians were knocked out of the fight. General Gorgios Salakoglu, the commander of the Epirus army, kept advancing and fighting for a few days, but by April 10th the news of the fall of Salonika forced them to stop the offensive and consider retreat. On April 15th, the Greeks started their withdrawal from the Albanian front, and by April 20th they reached Greek soil again.
Wow.
The progress of a 5-month campaign had been undone in just 2 weeks. In Greece, the political and military establishments were struck by a defeatist paralysis. Even Papagos knew that the country was going to be occupied, and that he would be captured with the rest of his army. In Aliakmon, Wilson prepared his forces to hold the line, hoping that the forces in Albania would come to his aid. By April 8th, Prilep had fallen to the 73rd Division, and Sturmer's forces prepared to advance towards Monastir. The 9th Panzer Division defeated the Greeks defending the Monastir Valley and rallied for an offensive towards Kozani. The objective of the attack was to encircle Seleucoglu's forces in Albania and the British at the Aliakmon line, and thus prevent both of them from linking up. At this point, Wilson's forces in Aliakmon were starting an organised withdrawal to a new defensive position on Mount Olympus. Mackay's forces were charged with the defence of the key Klidi Pass, linking the towns of Vevi and Klidi, and had to gain as much time as possible. The 9th, reinforced with the SS Adolf Hitler Regiment, took Vevi on April 11th and launched the attack on Klidi the following day, using the same blitzkrieg strategy that had devastated France and Yugoslavia. Diedrich's SS regiment managed to push back the Australians and take several key hills, opening the pass for the German advance. The Greeks and Australians continued to heroically offer resistance, but were finally forced to retreat. The panzers now menacingly advanced against Mackay's retreating forces, but the appearance of Charrington's tanks at Ptolemaida saved the division from annihilation. Mackay suffered many casualties.
I was going to say, like, where are the Allied tanks? I mean, if you got, the Nazis who got a bunch of tanks rolling in, and you don't have any, there's not much you can do about it. I know at the beginning they said they're, it's like 20-1, they're outnumbered, or more than that. I mean, they're extremely outnumbered, but it's like, come on, guys, bring some kind of tanks to this fight, because you're not going to have much effect without, some kind of, or, good artillery and defense or whatever,
Ptolemaida saved the division from annihilation. Mackay suffered many casualties, but he had gained 2 days' time for the British retreat, although the Greek divisions there didn't withdraw fast enough and soon found themselves trapped at the Klesora Pass. They tried to create a defensive position to stop the German advance, with the 20th Division being heavily pummeled, but eventually managed to retreat to Lake Kastoria. Back in Macedonia, the 30th Corps was tasked with occupying northeastern Greece, with the 50th Division securing Salonika and the 164th moving to occupy the Aegean Islands. This allowed Burma's forces to continue the advance and support Sturmer on the offensive. By the morning of April 14th, the spearheads of the 9th Panzer Division reached their objective of Kozani and established a bridgehead over the Aliakmon River, but Wilson's forces had slipped away, and soon Sturmer ordered his forces to continue the pursuit. On April 15th, the panzers caught the Greek 12th Division on the Sietista Pass and inflicted heavy losses, while Diedrich's SS forces annihilated the 20th Division at Kastoria. Diedrich then continued to advance south towards Ioannina, aiming to completely trap the Greek army in Albania. By April 19th, the SS regiment had captured Grevina, and 1 day later attacked the Katara Pass, defeating the Epirus army and capturing Ioannina. Soon Seleucoglu realized the hopelessness of the situation and offered to surrender his army. As with the Macedonian forces under Pakopolos, Seleucoglu's forces were treated with great respect and were allowed to retain their sidearms and go home after the end of the campaign. This, however, knocked out the remaining Greek forces. Wilson was now alone in the task of defending Greece. He created his new defensive line at Mount Olympus while preparing his forces for another withdrawal through Larissa, this time to the pass of Thermopylae. This line extended from the coast at Platamon to the Servia Pass, passing through Olympus. Wilson deployed the 4th and 5th New Zealand Brigades and the 16th Australian Brigade for the defence of this position. From Salonika, the bulk of the 18th Corps captured Veria and Edessa on April 11th, and Katerini on April 14th, standing just in front of the Olympus line by the start of the offensive. With the arrival of Stürmer's panzers one day later, the attack on Mount Olympus started. The Germans were held off there for the next 3 days by the heroic British forces, who fought them tooth and nail. But when the Italian army took back Korce on the Albanian front, Wilson finally feared a total encirclement and ordered the retreat on April 17th, only suffering light casualties. After crossing the Peneios River, the Australian 16th and the New Zealand 21st Battalion, under Brigadier Arthur Allen, made a last stand at Tempe Gorge, a key point just in front of Larissa. They needed to hold the Germans off until April 19th. The German 6th Division marched across the mountains and emerged at the exit of the Tempe Gorge, only to find the bridges and ferry demolished and the railway track blocked. The tired mountain troops were met by heavy machine gun fire from the south bank of the river. By nightfall, the 1st Panzers crossed the river, but they were bogged down in a swamp while trying to bypass a road demolition. On the morning of April 18th, armoured infantry crossed the river on floats, while the 6th troops worked their way around the New Zealand battalion. The battalion was annihilated, and Allen's forces had to retreat. One day later,
I like how they at least tell you what countries are involved. Like New Zealand, Australia, the Brits were here. I mean, they're all pitching, man. They're trying to stop these guys from pushing, and they just don't have the numbers and technology. But man, they trying, man. They got heart, man. They trying.
Annihilated, and Allen's forces had to retreat. One day later, Burma's forces entered Larissa and took possession of the airfield, where the British had left their supply dump intact. At the same time, the Greek government was shocked when Prime Minister Alexandros Korizis committed suicide. On April 21st, the port of Volos fell to the German advance. All seemed lost for the defenders, and finally Wilson started to prepare for an evacuation to Crete, which started 3 days later. On April 15th, the 40th Panzer Corps were reinforced by the victorious 5th Panzer Division from the invasion of Yugoslavia, arriving in Grevena on April 19th. From there, the panzers advanced southwards via Kalabaka towards Lamia. Meanwhile, the battered 9th Panzer Division was assigned to the reserves. In just 2 days, the 5th reached its objective and linked up with Burma's 18th Corps. But the Germans had lost much time, and Wilson's forces had reformed at a new defensive line at the Thermopylae Pass, the gateway to the Greek capital of Athens. From the port...
Yeah, I think I've definitely heard of that pass before. Doesn't like the 100 Spartans or something, kind of have something to do with that? But he killed himself, committed suicide. I guess he just feel really down, like he kind of let his country down, his people down, and just took his own life, kind of thing. Or he's just worried that he's gonna get captured or something. Or damn, man. So if your country needs you, man, not killing yourself is not the best thing to do.
Thermopylae Pass, the gateway to the Greek capital of Athens. From the port of Piraeus, some British troops were already being evacuated to Crete. The plan was for the forces at the historic Thermopylae to make a last stand and gain as much time as possible for the evacuation of Greece. The defence line consisted of light field fortifications, the construction of which did not seem to have progressed beyond the initial stage. Freyberg's 2nd New Zealand Division was given the task of defending the coastal pass, while Mackay's 6th Australian Division was to hold the village of Bralos. By April 22nd, a flying column of the 5th Panzer Division, supported by well-camouflaged artillery and single tanks, was attacking the Thermopylae positions that were defended by British infantry. The initial German probing attacks were without success. On the next day, a wide enveloping movement was undertaken by the 6th Division, crossing the difficult terrain west of the British positions. This operation took place simultaneously with another outflanking maneuver performed by a tank-supported motorcycle battalion advancing via the town of Molos. On April 23rd, Wilson ordered a retreat from Thermopylae, and it was decided that the British positions were to be held by 1 brigade each. These brigades, The 19th Australian and 6th New Zealand were to hold the passes as long as possible, allowing the other units to withdraw to the Peloponnesus. One day later, the Germans attacked, meeting fierce resistance and sustaining considerable casualties. Against greater odds, the Allies held out the entire day.
Wow.
With the delaying action accomplished, they retreated in the direction of the evacuation beaches and set up another rearguard at Thebes. The panzer units launching a pursuit along the road made slow progress because of the steep gradient and a large number of difficult hairpin bends. But from Lamia, Burma had sent a motorcycle battalion of the 2nd Panzer Division to cross to the island of Euboea and seize the port of Chalcis. Now he commanded this battalion to outflank the British last stand and capture Athens. The motorcycle troops encountered only slight resistance, and on the morning of April 27th, the first Germans entered Athens. The Athenians had been expecting the Germans for several days, and confined themselves to their homes with their windows shut. The fall of Greece was now an established fact, with the Germans raising the Nazi flag on the Acropolis. At the same time, 2 battalions of the 2nd Parachute Regiment dropped at the Gulf of Corinth in an airborne operation, attempting to trap the British at Athens. By this time, however, most of the British troops were already on the Peloponnesus for their evacuation. The airborne seizure of the Isthmus of Corinth had been coordinated with a drive across western Greece launched on April 20th.
For some reason, I didn't realize that. I guess I just didn't pay attention to this part, of Europe at this. When I hear about World War II, but I didn't realize they took all of Greece. The Nazis took down all of Greece. Man, that's kind of like new news to me. So wow. I feel dumb because I didn't expect them to take it, and they did. So, geez, man. Wow, man. All that hard work the last couple episodes to push Italy out, and this one is like, bam, the Nazis show up, and it's like, game on, bam, push them all out, Wow.
25th. Dietrich's SS regiment advanced from Ioannina in a thrust along the western foothills of the Pindus Mountains, via Arta to Messalongion, and crossed over to the Peloponnesus at Patras in an effort to gain access to the isthmus from the west. On April 27th, they met with the paratroopers in Corinth and learned of the fall of Athens. In their hasty evacuation, that took place mostly at night, the British used numerous small ports like Nafplio, Kalamata and Monemvasia, and had already managed to evacuate more than 20,000 troops. Dietrich rushed back to Patras to envelop the retreating British forces from the west, while Burma's forces advanced from the east towards Argos. Both forces met at the port of Kalamata on April 29th, capturing some 8,000 British and Yugoslav prisoners and liberating many Italians from Greek camps. The Germans, meanwhile, only lost around 5,000 men in the entire campaign. By April 30th, the last British troops had either escaped or been taken prisoner, and hostilities ceased, thus ending the invasion. The British successfully completed the evacuation of about 50,000 soldiers to Crete, but in their hasty retreat, they lost 11,840 men. The loss of Greece was a tough one for the Allies. The Greeks had inspired the democratic world with their resistance against the Italian invaders, even earning the respect of the unstoppable Germans. And although Greece was divided between the Axis powers, it is hardly the end of our story. And in the next episode, we will talk about the Battle of Crete. So make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button.
Wow.
We would like to express
the Battle of Crete. Well, the Germans are going to take over Crete, and that's just going to be the end of the war. I mean, come on now. Isn't it about time for... I mean, it's 1941. I mean, Germany's not retreating yet, right? Wow. Is Germany really going to take Crete as well? That's crazy, man. They took the whole peninsula, man. The Germans just walked. I knew they were going to have success, but I didn't realize they were basically going to take all of Greece in this one episode here, or even take it, all of it, in the whole series. So wow, man, I don't know what's going to happen next. They gotta defend the island, right? Do they take the island? I didn't think they were going to take all of Greece, so who knows, man? Who knows? Anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below. I guarantee 99.9% of you guys watching this right now probably knew exactly what was about to happen in this video. And yeah, and I'm kind of left out. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you guys in future videos. Another fun, crazy video. I was like, come on, Greeks, you can do it. Oh, come on, Brits, you can do it. Come on, Aussies, you can do it. Come on, New Zealand. But no, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. I was rooting for them, but hey, maybe next episode. Come on, we gotta get some victories in here. But anyways, guys, catch you guys in future videos. See you guys tomorrow and all that fun stuff. Always a good time. But I am out of here. Peace, guys. Have a good night, great day. Always welcome here, and you guys are awesome. Appreciate everything you guys do on my channel. But anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.